mute. I'm going to be I'm about to record. She now says it out loud on Zoom, which is kind of fun also. It is Shabbat Mishpatim, parsha that is full of laws. And just a heads up to anybody, we are going to be talking about reproductive rights later on in the service. And if that makes you uncomfortable, you can choose to stay, you can choose to mute me, you can choose whatever you choose to choose, but I would love if you stayed and listened to the Jewish reasoning, because it comes straight out of this week's Torah portion, so we will get there when we get there. With that said, let's do a little bit of Shabbat before all of that. We're going to be hearing today L'chuna Rananav, sung by Matovu, Lecha Dodi, which is an Ashkenazi version by Benjamin Russell, Shalom Alechem, composed by Rabbi Israel Goldfarb, sung by some BBYO youngsters, Baruchu by Noam Katz, Ahavat Olam by the Platt Brothers, Micha Mocha by Nefesh Mountain, Rebbe Friedman's Vishamru, sung by Shir Chadash, the Klepper Friedlander Shalom Rav by Naomi Les, Josh Nelson's Yehila Ratzon by Hushir, Craig Taubman's Mishaberach by Cantor Rita Glassman, and Shirla Ahava, which is by Gili Lieber, which will be sung by Gaia. So here we go.
Mountain to sea, hear our song. Levune ranena, yai lai 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 lai, la Adonai, yai lai 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 lai, Maria, yai lai. Listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. Levune ranena, yai lai 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 lai, la Adonai, yai lai 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 lai, la Maria.
I would love to invite the Jaffe family to go ahead and unmute. Michelle's going to lead us.
We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories, glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God.
Thank you so much. If you have Shabbat candles near you, I invite you to light them with me at this time. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvot
Lechadosham, Vetziranu, Lehalikne, Lehalikne, Shel Shabbat.
Right. We continue with Lecha Dodi. We're going to sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And for that ninth final verse, I'm going to invite you as you are able to rise to welcome the Sabbath bride.
Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamu v'zachu b'diburecha tishmi'anu, Ela meyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shemu tiferet v'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor ha'beracha merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh v'machshava techila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri ki ba'orech, Kumi uri, Shir daberi kevod Adonai, Alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam besimcha uvetzora toch emune am segula. Boi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la.
I feel like it cut off a little bit early. It needed that last lie. Okay, we're going to continue on with Shalom Aleichem, welcoming the ministering angels to join us on Shabbat.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. li melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
Right. How did I arrive in this place, this joy and wonder, this grief and loss, this hour, this moment, this life? Choice, events, God, my decisions, the decisions of others, the hand of our Creator. Holy One, help me to see that I am exactly where I need to be, to learn and to serve, to be and to become, to live as an instrument of healing and love, charity and forgiveness, kindness and grace. How did I arrive in this moment? How did I get this blessing, this gift to be exactly where I am, where I can learn and serve in God's holy name? If you are able, I'd like to invite you once again to rise, this time for Baruch Hu, the call to worship. You may once again be seated. I'd like to invite Cheryl Ives to unmute and to lead us.
Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth.
Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Yasher koach. Cheryl, thank you so much. And we continue by recognizing God's eternal love for us with Ahavat Olam.
That's the Jonah brothers.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, Beshoveinu v'kumeinu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nizmar ledivrei Toratecha, u'bemitzvotecha, le'olam. Beit Yisrael,
It was so good, I tried to listen to it again. But okay, we're going to move forward in our service into Shema. I know that you all know this, that we are all just with the people in our own living space. And so you should feel free to pray as loud, as quiet, as big or as small as suits you. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם Adonai Elohechem. And I'd like to invite Jane and Steve Simon to please unmute and to lead us.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot.
That wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness.
That there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Thank you both. מלכותך ובניך בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים זה לי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד נאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב ולא מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני נעם ישראל. if they're not going to do the whole melody, we have to help them sometimes. I think that's all there is to it. All right. I'd love to invite Marilyn. Can you unmute and lead us in the next prayer?
Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long, evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim.
Amen. Yasher koach.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. אותי לעולם.
I'd like to invite you to rise as you are able for the Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotzeinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula lifnei v'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid haGashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofech olim, U'matir asurim, U'mekayem be'emunato, V'shenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, U'midor melech, Melech memit u'mechayeh, U'matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atal hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha salah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated. Suzanne Descharme, can I invite you to unmute and to lead us? First, you got to unmute. There you go.
Mute. There we are.
Perfect.
Okay. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answers to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, endurance, and let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai she'otcha levadcha ve'yira na'avod.
Amen. Yasher koach. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
We continue with a prayer for peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. 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 Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם.
Sometimes the way that we present a prayer gives a message as well. I think that we have probably heard the Klepper Friedlander version of Shalom Rav 12,000 times, each of us in our lives. But this was a chidush. This is a twist on it, and a different version. And I want to invite all of us. We all have something new and different and special to say with our prayer. And I invite you during this moment of private prayer to do just that.
יהיו לרצון עם מפי להגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון עם מפי להגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי לגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי לגואלי.
יהיו לרצון עם מפי והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון עם רפי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, לאדוני צורי וגואלי.
יהיו לרצון עם רפי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון עם רפי, והגיון ליבי לפניך.
אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, לאדוני צורי וגואלי.
My friends, we are in Parashat Mishpatim, and for those of you who, yes, thank you, Annabelle, hands up for Parashat Mishpatim. I can see you, and that was actually the perfect response, and you should get ready because you're going to be blessing this with your family just as soon as I explain what's going on. So Mishpatim, as the name might suggest, is all about laws, and there are lots and lots of laws in this portion. They're about civil and criminal matters, about Hebrew indentured servants and the rules around how we treat them, about capital crimes, about bodily injury caused by people and livestock, and property damage, all of the torts get into this part. There are religious and social precepts, prohibitions of sorcery, and specific interactions with animals that we're not going to get into, proper treatment of the disadvantaged, and then obligations to God, judicial conduct, and treatment of enemy, needy, and stranger, as well as the religious calendar and divine promises and warnings. Now, as I mentioned at the onset of the service, we're going to be looking at one passage of this in particular. And if you were at the sisterhood presentation when Rabbi Marla Feldman came a few years back, this section of Torah will be pretty blatant and obvious and clear to you, because it really is the section of Torah that tells us that we have a freedom of reproductive choice. And so we're going to look at that, and then we're going to go into a little bit of depth in that passage. So I'm going to invite the Theodores to unmute to begin with and to bless our Torah reading.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natanu leTorato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. V'chi yinatzu anashim v'nagfu isha hara v'yatzu excuse me, yaldeha v'lo yeh ason. Anosh ye'anesh kasher yashit alav ba'al ha'isha v'natan b'fivim ve'im ason yeh v'natata nefesh tachat nefesh ayin tachat ayin shen tachat shen yad tachat yad regel tachat regel chivia tachat chivia petza tachat petza chabura tachat chabura. Theodores, you're up.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. אשר נתן לתורת אמת, והיום אתה בקדוש, ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה.
Amen. And Bert, I love that you participated in that, even though you were not in the room with the rest of the family. That was perfect and wonderful. So before we unpack our Torah reading a little bit, we are, of course, going to pray for the healing and well-being of all of those affected by crisis, all of those who are in need physically, emotionally, spiritually. We add to all of those our own list: Bob Adler, Joel Berkowitz, Barry Birmingham, Bob Bieber, Sheila Boylan, Lori Rosenblum Brown, Olivia Burton, Richard Burton, Leonard Bushell, Marcia Bialik, Bernadette Casey, Rosanna Queerduyo and Carol Queerduyo, Sandy Cohen, Muriel Connick, John DeGenerio, Noel Drower, Daniel Duffin, Gary Duglin, Peg Duglin, Wayne Duglin, Marty Epstein, Doris Fader, Nicole Farringer, Tanya Ferguson, Phil Greenberg, Jack Hurahan, Wanda Johnson, Rosalind Camlet, Zarek Karagolian and Natalie Karagolian, Ben Katz, Lars Kirstein, Rachel Lawrence, Molly Lado, Lori Machard, Jim McGilloway, Tova Medetsky, Noreen Morel, Bob Muscat, Marion Newman, Allison Ocean, Carolyn Ocean, Vincent Pisano, Deborah Ruth Pakowski, Stephen Prince, Kiva Reinstein, Mary Rhodes, Susan Rivkind, Bernard Ricks, Dale Robinson, Alvin Rosenthal, Marlene Rosalinsky, Ruth Rubenstein, Karen Sakow, Arthur Schlesinger, Victoria Shaw, Jack Silver, Ruth Solomon, Kem Spencer, Burden Suskind, Carol Tejas, Gertrude Theodore, Stu Turner, Ed Vogel, Sarah Wolf, Wendy Zuckerman, Shira Rachel Bat Chana Rivka, Laser Ben Yaakov, Eili Simcha Ben Abigail, and Shoshana Irit. I also see in the chat box Anne Sherry, Carl Stebbins, Spencer Gill, Jackie Miller, Rena Rabinowitz, Lou and Maddie Rosatini, Barbara Spedding, and Carol Sutherland. If there are other names that for people that you're praying for, please feel free to continue to put them in the chat box as we pray Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Hu Yevarech veYirapeh et hacholim Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Hu Yevarech veYirapeh et hacholim יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים.
Well, as promised, a little bit about reproductive rights and this week's Torah portion. And so what I'm going to do is go back a bit. We're going to look at what's happening in this Torah portion and why it applies to reproductive rights and reproductive justice. So this portion talks a lot about what happens when people get into physical conflict with each other, what happens when they hurt each other. And one of the things that happens in the passage that I read is that there is something different from everything else. Okay, so when men fight and one of them pushes a pregnant woman and a miscarriage results, but no other damage ensues, the one responsible shall be fined according as the woman's husband may exact from him, the payment to be based on reckoning. But if other damage ensues, the penalty shall be life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. Now, all of this is also like extraordinarily, and where we're saying, really, you're gonna, take an eye for an eye. But what's important about this section of the Torah when it comes to all of that is that you're not allowed to take more than an eye. You can't kill someone for taking a hand or a foot, right? That there is some sense of equity, of justice in the way that we exact retribution. Hopefully this is not the way we necessarily think about the world when it comes to justice today, but this is the way that this is understood. And what's important and what's interesting about this section when it comes to talking about reproductive freedom is that if the woman miscarries because of the fight, because of the argument, the punishment is payment. It's not life. This is not considered murder, right? This is considered almost like any other body part in that it is unfortunate, it is hard, but it is not the understanding that a life is taken in this passage. And that's a very significant moment religiously, and that's a very significant moment in the Torah. So I'm going to continue with a little bit more from NCJW, who put together some wonderful resources around this topic. So this Parashat Mishpatim is when we read the verse, this is the undergird Judaism's approach to abortion. It teaches about the status of the fetus, which is not comparable at all to the life of the pregnant adult, right? If something were to happen to the woman that was carrying that fetus, the result would have been very different. And this becomes the basis for later rabbinic understanding that abortion is permitted in Judaism, and if needed to save the life of a pregnant person, required, right? The life of a pregnant person takes precedence over the life of a fetus. And this is also hugely important Jewishly. So just to share with you a couple of Jewish understandings. So is it possible to murder a fetus? Not according to Jewish law, because if two men who are fighting, we talked about this verse explains that if the only harm done is the miscarriage, the perpetrator must pay a fine, right? So we've gone over that. The next piece, do abortion bans, so now we're talking about modern day world, unduly favor one religious viewpoint over another? So yes, different religions believe that human life begins at different stages of development. Science can explain developmental timelines, but philosophic and religious viewpoints largely determine what exactly defines life or personhood for each individual. The NCJW believes, as does the First Amendment to the Constitution, it guarantees that no one religion should be enshrined in law or dictate public policy on any issue, including abortion. So one of the arguments that NCJW is making is that an abortion ban would impinge upon our First Amendment rights as Jews to interpret the world through our religious perspective, because what it does is it defines when personhood begins, and Judaism and our tradition defines that differently. Now, one of the things that's been interesting to me in the modern world is that we find that in some, not all, in some more ultra-Orthodox communities, as they find themselves politically allied with other religious groups that are more traditional and are more, I don't know, have different interpretations than Jews, they are starting to influence and impact the Jewish interpretation. But that is not to say that the traditional Jewish interpretation supports this newer political climate. Really, this has been the viewpoint since the time of the Torah. It is undergirded and reinforced through rabbinic Judaism. So what does Jewish law say about the rights of the person who is pregnant and the rights of the fetus? Judaism values life and affirms that protecting existing life is paramount at all stages of pregnancy. A fetus is not considered a person under Jewish law and therefore does not have the same rights as one who is already living and functioning in the world. As such, the interests of the pregnant individual always come before those of the fetus. Now, usually what I do when I read Torah with you, when we study Torah together, is I talk about how this impacts your life. And the truth is that I think that this is fairly self-evident, that as people who interact with the larger world and who want people, women, to and those who can become pregnant, which interestingly is not always just women, that it is incumbent upon us to remember that our values are really those that align with the life of the person that we recognize as already alive, and how important that is to each and every one of us, and that each person should have a right to medical care, and to seek out the medical care and to receive the medical care that they need. And so, along with NCJW, the National Council of Jewish Women, I'm going to ask you as your rabbi to encourage your lawmakers to support the WHPA and the Each Woman Act. So these are protections for pregnant people, to call your senators and urge them to support judges who are fair, independent, and diverse, and to become an NCJW advocate and stay up to date on all the ways that you can turn your faith into action. Judaism is wonderful in the theoretical, but if we don't put it to work in our lives, then it isn't a living faith. It is the way that it impacts us and our values and the way that we interact in the world that makes Judaism vital. And when it comes to this issue, it really is a question of whether our values will be permitted to be enacted. And so I urge you to urge those who represent us to allow us to live our values. And so with that, I'm going to wish you a Shabbat Shalom. And should you be interested in any of these resources, please reach out to me. I will be happy to share them with you as well. We're going to continue forward in our service. Aleinu l'shabeach. Please rise as you are able. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gdula l'yotzeh breshit, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר לה' המלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may once again be seated. Okay, some announcements. So the way that we work Torah study is we on Sundays read the next week's Torah portion. So last Sunday we studied Parashat Mishpatim. I hope you'll join us this Sunday, January 30 at 11:30 a.m. via Zoom to study next week's Torah portion. Then on Wednesday, February 2nd at 7:30 p.m. via Zoom, we dive even deeper into the Torah with the second in our new Torah Stories series. I see Cheryl Ives. I know Joel is there with her. We're going to be exploring the tabernacle, the Mishkan, and see how far we've come from those temporary dwellings to today's synagogue. So BHS member and architect Joel Ives is going to teach us a little bit about how the Torah and our understanding of the Mishkan and Solomon's temple impacts the way that modern synagogues are designed and built. I'm so excited about this, by the way. On February 6th, Sunday at 1 p.m. via Zoom, Sisterhood will be participating in a Judaic paper cutting, a perfect craft for a winter afternoon. I'm going to say the artist names wrong, so please forgive me. Artist Jeanette Kuvin Oren is going to be leading us in creating these works of art. So come try your hand at paper cutting. As you know, college can be tough to navigate, and so we want to help. BHSS is building a database of colleges and their students or alumni from our congregation to be used as a networking tool for our high school students embarking on their college journeys. We hope you'll add your college student's name to this list that we are building, so join us for that. Check for details for all of our happenings on weekly emails and temple topics. And I see them on the screen. So shout out and a mazel tov to the Theodores for winning Rafflepalooza. How about that? Well done. I understand that that Jan Reisman and Gail Spencer were also big winners. How exciting is that? So I want to hear all about the concert, by the way. So just saying. Okay. We're going to continue on with our service. Before we do all of that, I keep forgetting that we have this slide, our musical credits. So L'chuna Ranana, sung by Matzovu, L'chadodi by Benjamin Russell, Shalom Aleichem, not plural. The Goldfarb version was sung by BBYO participants. So Al Levine doesn't think that the Baruch Hu was Noam Katz, but that's the credit that I have. But Al has a different perspective, and I don't know, that's what I found. Okay, the Ahavat Olam was by the Platt brothers, Micha Mocha, by Nefesh Mountain. Debbie Friedman's Visham Ru was not by Debbie Friedman, but okay. The Klepper Friedlander Shalom Rav by Naomi Less, Yehilu Ratzon, which is the Nelson version by Hushir. Craig Taubman's Mishaberach by Cantor Rita Glassman, and we'll come up to share Ahava by Gilly Lieber, sung by Gaia. All right. Our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us, those who have passed away recently, and those who've passed away in this season and years past. As I mentioned in the video that came out today, it was also Holocaust Remembrance, International Holocaust Remembrance Day just yesterday. And so, of course, we keep the names of all of those that go unsaid in our hearts, along with those who have passed away more recently. Our condolences go to Norman Rhine and his family on the death of his mother, Florence Rhine, to Marilyn Taylor on the death of her dear friend, Lee Flanagan. We are in Shloshim, the 30-day memorial period for Howard Michael Myers, son of Bob and Pearl Myers, to Susan Garcia, sister of Barry Romoff, William Bill Strauss, father of Mark Strauss, David Teisch, ex-husband of Judy Teisch, Arlene Amster, sister-in-law of Bela Berkowitz, and Christopher Spedding, stepbrother of Lauren Theodore. We commemorate the Yartzites, the anniversary of the passing of Alyssa Al-Hadef, grandniece of Ruth Turner, Howard Cole, grandfather of Brian Altman, Celia Foreman, dear friend of Terry Sittimer, Anna Heffler, mother of Seal Baldwin, Paul Jeanette, father of Bob Jeanette, Gloria Kirshner, mother of Stuart Kirshner, Dina Marks, my own grandmother, George Mendelson, father of Anne Vine, Gloria Mendelson, mother of Anne Vine, Dorothy Natchinson, mother of Scott Natchinson, Samuel Roth, uncle of Michelle Sherry, Joel Sankel, cousin of Cheryl Ives, Harry Salt, father of Jane Simon and grandfather of Steve Simon, Margot Simmons, sister of Helen Milstein. We also remember Paul Lagstein, Ann Osher, Lawrence Perlmutter, and Estelle Zachary Samuels. If there are any other names, people for whom you are reciting Kaddish, please do put their names in the chat box. I see Wayne Tenenbaum. Please rise as you are able, both as mourners, in support of the mourners, and for all of those 6 million and more who have no one to say Kaddish for them. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah v'rach le'olam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudesha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, and we say, amen. You may be seated. All right. Our closing, excuse me, before we get to our closing song, we have Kiddush. I'm going to give first right of refusal. Rabbi Jaffe Gill, would you care to lead us in Kiddush?
Thank you. I would love to.
Please.
Who's got the glass?
Anybody got a glass? Hold it up. There we go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu v'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, ve'ahava uvratzon chimchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher litziat mitzrayim. Ki banu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava uvratzon imchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim.
Amen. L'chaim. Oh, and I see lots of glasses being drunk, so you must have done it right. How about that? Well done. Okay. Our closing song.
יחד לב אל לב נפתח ונראה את האור שבשמיים. יחד לב אל לב נפתח בתקווה לאהבה. איך שהלב נפתח חובק את העולם, ובקריאת עולם נשיר לאהבה. אם הוא הכל אפשר, זה לא מאוחר, השחר ועלה, זמן לאהבה. יחד לב אל לב נפתח ונראה את האור שבשמיים. יחד לב אל לב נפתח בתקווה לאהבה. ורק אם נאמין ובלי שום דבר La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Right. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Al had a question about who sings this, so I will let Al know. Hold on, I'm gonna rewind and tell you. This is Gaia is the singer. Anyway, the song is by Gili Lieber, and I love it, so it makes me really happy. Anyway, feel free to unmute, sit around, chat for a while, say Shabbat Shalom. It's lovely to have you all.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom, everyone.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Glad to have you all.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Hello, Ginsburg. Shabbat Shalom.
Hey,
Shabbat shalom.
Ginsburg's in the house.
Very nice. Very
Good
nice.
Shabbos.
Good
Shabbat
Shabbos. and nice
shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat
Thank you,
shalom.
Rabbi.
Thank you. Okay.
Congratulations, Jonathan and the Theodores.
Yeah.
Oh, we were so excited. It was so exciting.
And Shikoach.
Awesome. Yeah.
Annabelle, I'll be
Yeah.
waiting for my ticket, okay?
Hope you guys have a good time. I wasn't invited.
I'm cooler than you, John.
Well, that's true. You are.
Not at all.
Good night.
All right, Shabbat shalom, everyone. Goodbye.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
What time is that on Wednesday night?
Oh, on Wednesday evening, I want to say it's 7:30. That's the time our stuff usually is on.
7:30? Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
Rabbi, 7:30. Okay, great. Thank you.
Perfect. Sure.
Thank you from the Rhines, Rabbi. We'll talk to you on
Thank
Monday.
you so much. Okay.
We had a bunch of the family on here, so
Oh, well,
thank you.
I see a couple, and anyway, I'm sorry for the circumstances. I'm glad to see your faces.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you on Monday. All
All
right,
right.
bye-bye.
Talk to you then.
Enjoy the snow, everybody.
Exactly. Stay safe. Yeah. All right. All right.
Shabbat
I'm going to
shalom.
close things down, everybody. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. See you Sunday. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.